Right, so since Elon Musk took over Twitter, not necessarily for the better, the world's richest man controlling a major social media platform, worried some about who could get away with what and why under his administration. And these days, the platform's reputation for honesty and integrity has taken a bit of a knock, it's fair to say. A little bit like Musk's rocket did yesterday. Therefore, when said platform, in a bid to clean up this reputation, introduced context boxes to misleading tweets, information boxes appearing below given tweets, themselves spelling out the reason that it has been added, pointing out where the tweet has been misleading and providing official links to the correct information. These have been widely welcomed. The new feature is called Community Notes, and the community, i.e. other Twitter users, maintain the integrity of these. You have to sign up to join Community Notes, and your account must be in good standing regarding the rules of Twitter usage. Agree to some basic responsibility criteria, and agree to allow others to add input to your context too. And when enough contributors agree with your written context box, it then becomes public. So for a tweet to be so blatant in its apparent efforts to mislead people to, one, prompt somebody signed up to Community Notes to add a context box, and for two, for sufficient people to agree with said note so that it then becomes publicly visible, it's therefore pretty damning stuff. They're not common. But most importantly of all, if you disagree with a note being attached to a tweet, you can request an additional review to possibly get it removed. And so it's even more damning when they don't, in which case, the older the tweet with the context box, and it's been around since January, I think now, these context boxes, the more likely it is that process has failed. And if it's a prominent account, that's all the more reason to distrust what that account is therefore telling you, especially when they start getting more than one of them. Therefore, you can see how this can be reputationally damaging to a given Twitter account. And as much as I might castigate the billionaires of this world, whoever it was at Musk's Twitter who came up with this, they've done good. This is a good idea. I can't find fault in and of itself with this. I've just signed up to join Community Notes myself. We'll see how long it takes me to get approved, I guess. They reckon it takes a couple of weeks to go through a checks process. Of course, other people in the Twitter community are already approved and are already leaving notes. And the two accounts that I've seen flagged thus far for making misleading claims are the official account of the Labour Party and the account of Keir Starmer himself. Now, I've discussed the inaccuracies of Starmer's awful attack ads already in several videos now. They've upset me a lot, can you tell? And indeed, Twitter took umbrage with them as well, because context got added both when Labour accused Sunak of being soft on gun crime, which pointed to evidence on the website of the Independent Judiciary and the Sentencing Council, and also when Labour accused Sunak of being soft on child abusers, for which there was no evidence whatsoever that he felt that way, also pointing to the Sentencing Council guidelines on such crimes in the context box. And that's the very same council at the very same time that Keir Starmer himself was sat on the Sentencing Council when these very guidelines on child abuse sentences were written. It's not a good look for a political party to be caught up making up facts that the ordinary public here, because that's what we are, that's what ordinary Twitter users are that have access to these Community Notes facility now. That's what the people adding context to these tweets are, catching them out. Worse still, though, is when the leader of said party's own official account gets caught up in this too. And that is exactly what has happened. Though I suppose in the case of Keir Starmer's own personal account, given that something like 40% of all of his followers have turned out to be fake, this might not be such a big surprise that he gets caught out being misleading. There was a context box has appeared on one of Keir Starmer's own tweets from Tuesday of this week, where he posted a video saying, "Vote Labour on Thursday, the 4th of May, for an NHS that treats patients on time again." The context box once more appeared. Remember, this is only gets seen publicly when a group of community post-enabled accounts agree that it is helpful context. It doesn't get seen otherwise. And it read, "The elections being held on May the 4th, 2023 are local council elections. Local councils are not responsible for the NHS, which is funded and run by the national government of each country of the UK." Yes, Starmer is trying to win local election votes based on the NHS. He's fighting local elections on national policy and with very little detail at that. We know, of course, he and his health privatiser in waiting, Wes Streeting, who was on Question Time again yesterday, have taken private health donations. So we know full well why they want the private sector involved in fixing this Tory-made problem, ignoring the fact, of course, that this is exactly what the Tories have been doing, and that has wrecked the service, because privatisation never works. Streeting was being called out on this by the Green Party's Carla Denyer. I know, mark the calendar, it's rarer than a blue moon. A Green Party representative appeared on BBC's Question Time yesterday, and she did bloody well too. Anyway, that aside, Starmer stood for Labour leader on a pledge to renationalise the NHS. He lied to us then, and he's lying to us now, whilst taking us all for fools and pretending that he's actually trying to do something good and fix it. A tweet put out by the Labour Party yesterday morning, still without a context box, but in need of one that I happened across, read, "Under the Tories, 999 calls go unanswered for an hour and a half. Labour will make sure our NHS is there when you need it." 999 is the emergency call handler service. It applies to the police. It applies to the fire brigade. It applies to the Coast Guard as well as the ambulance service. Therefore, it is not an NHS issue. And painting it as such is once more entirely misleading. The punch to the Tories for their failure way of campaigning instead of setting out what you'd do instead is probably showing what a bunch of Tories actually the Labour Party has become under Starmer. And honesty and integrity are meaningless here. Now, I know what many of you might be thinking here as well by now. How many of these context boxes have the Tories had? What a bunch of liars they are too, after all. And I agree, they are. They're just a lot better at it than Starmer's amateurs are, though. And the answer is, so far, I haven't seen the Tories get one of these. Labour have been caught selling national policy visions, however, as local ones. Such has been their ineptitude. And as much as we know the Tories, the blue ones, the ones in government, lie with impunity about what they do versus what they end up doing, as much as they'll let us down and the like, we know they will. We're used to it by now. They are, in their promotions, at least talking about relevant issues like potholes and like council tax, which Labour belatedly have cottoned onto. So therefore, the Tories are promoting relevant talking points. You can't argue with that. They are talking about local issues, the actual local government issues that do actually matter in these upcoming elections. It's so sad from my point of view as a former Labour member and activist who was part of this online game for the party. They clearly, having purged or driven us all away, they're left with people running social media who are completely unable to cut through, instead reduced to being dishonest and misleading, as so many on the Labour right are. Labour used to be good at this stuff. It's galling, because now they're absolutely useless. Thanks for watching. If you appreciated this video, please do hit like and subscribe, leave a comment and hit the notification bell too so you don't miss the next one. Also, look out for me on social media and other interesting stuff by clicking on the Linktree link in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Cheers, folks.